What up, Racer? ItsJerone here, and welcome back to another F1 2021 League Racing video. Today we're here already for the 6th round of the AOR season, and we're here in Spielberg around Austria, which has notoriously been a good track for League Racing, and I will hope that it will provide a lot of good action today. If you missed the previous video around France, then I would highly recommend to go check that one out, because it was a very exciting race and a lot happened, and I'll leave a link in the top right. Anyways, we're already into qualifying, and of course we're trying to set the fastest time possible, because the alternative strategy is not extremely powerful around here. Having a quick look at the standings, if you didn't click off the video, then it's now spoiled, of course. We have 5 different race winners at this point, and currently leading the championship by 14 points over Rally Monster, but basically everyone behind is quite close. And even though I don't have a race win yet in AOR, I still have a 14-point lead because I've been the most consistent over the races in which I participated. Currently looking at a qualifying lap and going through this double left-hander, you can see Mercedes just pulling out of the way a little bit, but quite interestingly, there was a lot of dirty air, which really affected the run ahead through that first part of the left-hander, so that definitely cost a bit of time. What also costs time is if you do a sort of double turn-in for this right-hander, and in the end I do go fastest for the moment, just dipping into the 1-minute 3s. Of course, since the new performance patch, we're of course not going to go into the 1-minute 2s anymore. In the meanwhile, we're in the final laps of qualifying, and as you can see, I invalidated one of my final runs, so that means I have one more chance at pole position. And in the meanwhile, I've been put down to 3rd place because Tash and, well, now Pedro and Pasti have all put in faster times than me, so I'll actually leave you with the audio for this one. Enjoy! And it is quite a clean lap. As you can see, we go pole for now, and I can confirm it will be pole position in the end. It was quite a good lap, I was quite satisfied with it. I missed my apex at turn 4 a little bit, and the final sector could have been a lot better. Wasn't quite aggressive enough, but overall I'm quite happy with the lap. Turn 1 and especially, well, technically it's turn 3, were very good, and that built the basis, the foundation for that lap really. I knew I was able to do 1-minute 3.4 on a really good lap, but overall doing a low 0.6, I can definitely appreciate that lap. That's one of my better qualifying laps I did in all of League Racing really. Anyways, we're looking back at footage from last year, which was my first AOR race ever, and I had some connectivity issues there, and here you have a little compilation of what happened in FRL about 3 or 4 weeks ago. To be honest, I prefer not to speak really, but it's also, it should be shown, I think. Of course, I'm hoping to do a lot better today than I did in FRL. I made a few setup changes, so I now should be a bit more stable and also a lot faster on a straight during this race, but yeah, hopefully I don't spin 4 times in this race. Something I didn't warn you about is the fact that we have intermediate conditions at the start of the race, and it will dry up throughout the race. So of course everyone just wanted to get the fastest lap in, because tire strategy doesn't matter at this point. Everyone is on mediums as the 5 red lights are on with Pasty behind me. Then it's my teammate Ralph, Tash and Zach, and I get quite a good launch actually, so I'm clear heading into turn 1, which is always a good feeling, as there's a little bit of carnage behind, which I didn't really notice at the time. But my teammate Ralph got past Pasty and got a really good exit, so I'm having to go a little bit defensive into turn 3, but unfortunately I snatched my braking point a little bit, and that means that I run a bit deep, and in the end my teammate got braking down a lot better and manages to pass me. So I also told her at this point that she shouldn't go defensive, because we've already built quite a good gap, and at this stage I was just thinking, oh, let's just extend it collectively, see what happens. So I probably could have challenged back into turn 4, but in the end I decided to think better of it. Here you have a view from Bankai, Ferrari, and what's gonna happen here? That's a bit of a Valtteri Bottas. Nice strike by Bankai. I'm not sure how Pasty survived this hit, but he did somehow, and unfortunately Tash and I think one other driver really got caught up in that incident, which is unfortunate, as we're definitely not going back to dry shortly, you will see that. But skipped on to lap 4, and as you can see, my teammate Ralph was clearly the quicker Alpine at this point, and she's already 2 seconds ahead, whilst I'm coming under a little bit of pressure from Zach. Not that much, to be honest, but it's quite hard to overtake in the rain and stay close to other cars. But as you can also see, we had built quite a gap to Pasty and Rally Monster, but that doesn't really matter at this point, because the first safety car is here. So at this stage, track is definitely not going to dry up quickly enough in order to get back onto slicks under this safety car. So I'm pretty sure everyone just stayed out really. I also messed up a little bit when it comes to the amount of fuel I had put into the car. I wanted to do, well, in a dry race I would have done exactly 1 lap of fuel. So when it was wet I thought, let's just put in 0.6 laps of fuel, but I think accidentally I put in 1.6 laps of fuel. So we have a little bit too much fuel for this race on board, which is not optimal, as we're currently underway for the restart, and my teammate leading the pack, and Zach is a little bit closer to me than I am to my teammate. So we might come under a little bit of pressure heading into turn 3. As you can see, Zach 2.5 tenths behind. Of course we're going to keep using the ERS down the straight, and this time I decided not to go defensive, and once again I'm running a little bit deep into turn 3, but Zach definitely didn't get a great exit, and essentially I just hold position for now really. And that's also what happened the next couple of laps really. We were just driving and waiting for the track to dry up, as in the meanwhile Zach got his 3-second time penalty for cutting turn 1. Pretty sure I'm only at 1 warning at this stage, so doing good. And let's listen to a radio message from Jeff.
No rain expected, no rain expected for the time being. Not sure whether dries or inters are faster. We're right on the crossover.
Indeed, we were right at the crossover. It's quite difficult to judge on this game whether the track is dry enough. Sometimes it visually seems quite wet still, but then the slick compound actually is already faster. As I decided not to take any risks really, because essentially I'm the championship leader. Whoever wants to challenge me should take risks, and I'll just manage my lead for now, as on this lap DRS got enabled and my teammate decides to come in. So this will be a crucial lap for everyone. I think literally everyone waited for the sign of DRS being enabled again in order to come into the pit lane. And this is a crucial lap, because we'll see whether intermediates are still faster or whether I will get undercut. So we're going to use quite a significant share of ERS on this lap, and we'll also stay on board to see what my in-lap was like. Got a bit of DRS on the pit straight from my teammate, so that should also help a little bit, as we indeed get a strategy call from Jeff. And we're also at a point where softs can just about make it, but it is a bit irresolute whether softs will be faster over the whole stint, and most likely with DRS transforming, it might actually be better to have fresh tires at the end of the race. But on the other hand, if you can pull the gap on softs, then it might also be worth it. So I wasn't really sure which tire I wanted to be on, as we're going into the pit lane now, having to stay within the white lines, and that's what we do on entry. And braking for the pit lane, of course I don't want a penalty for speeding, as that would be an atrocious effort at this stage of the race. And in the end I decided to go for the medium compound, and I think the only driver that gambled on a set of softs was Zach. So let's see how that works out, and also where we come out. As you can see, my teammate's already ahead, and in the end we filter out right behind Zach. So the undercut has worked for everyone, but I will have 1 lap fresher tires than most of them. So in the end I couldn't really do anything. Yeah, perhaps I could have come in a lap earlier, but I think at that stage the track wouldn't have been exactly dry enough for slick tires to be faster. So I'd rather get undercut by one driver and still have fresher tires for the end of the race. And as you can see, little time lapse, I wasn't really on the pace at this stage of the race, because I don't know what it is, but I'm not exactly confident when having to adapt to changing weather conditions. So I could have defended from Rally Monster here, because I got free DRS from one of the back markers, but I thought it wasn't worth it, and I wanted to save a bit of ERS, and hopefully Rally Monster could carry me along for a little bit. And you can see on that exit there, I don't know how Rally Monster gets the power down so well, and basically everyone around me, because my teammate also pulled away by like 3 seconds in those laps, as well as Zach. So clearly I'm doing something wrong, rather than blaming it on the game. In the meanwhile though, you can see Red Bull glitching out and spinning across the track, and that's Rally Monster. So immediately after I let him overtake me, he makes a bit of a mistake. Well, not a bit of a mistake, quite a significant mistake. Drops down a couple of positions, and that means I get promoted back up to 3rd place again, with now realistically only Pasty quite close behind. So I was leading Pasty for a couple of laps. Realistically, this race will end up in being a battle between me and Pasty. As you can still see, there's still a bit of rain, so the track still isn't completely dry, but we have to do our best, of course. And yet again we have another safety car. This wasn't exactly in the script, because, well, now I have another important decision to make. Do I box for a fresh set of soft tires, or do I stay out? What do I do? This kind of feels like a similar scenario to what happened in FRL, except this time my tires are still a lot fresher than in the FRL race, and I'm pretty sure I would once again drop like 4 or 5 positions. I think I would come out behind that Aston Martin. And the leaders didn't pit, and I also decided to stay out. So let's see, what's the rest gonna do? Ferrari staying out, Red Bull staying out, Mercedes staying out, Aston Martin staying out. And only the last Mercedes is coming in. So I'm pretty sure I did make the right decision of staying out. So I'm happy with that, as we're skipping onto the restart, trying to get a bit of heat into the tires again. And realistically, this opens up the opportunity for me to get back into P2 in this race, because Zach of course has that 3-second time penalty, as my teammate this time is waiting quite long to accelerate, and there she goes, cross start finish. She gets quite a good restart, I think, because of course at this stage she needs to build that gap from Zach, who the peak performance of the soft compound tires should have decreased by now. Pretty sure mediums and softs should have quite a similar pace at this moment in the race, as we're getting quite close to Zach's diffuser into turn 3, but of course keeping the wing clean. And yeah, I'm pretty sure Zach still has a slight edge over my medium tires. Then once again, skipping a couple of laps ahead, I once again didn't have the pace over my teammate. She was just way too quick for me, and that meant that I had to use quite a lot of ERS because I wasn't within DRS range of the car ahead. And at this stage I thought, well, let's just see. If Basti wants to overtake me, then he can do so. I just want to stay within 3 seconds of Zach, and I'll fight the final few laps with Basti and Bankai for this 3rd place in the race. So I made Basti use quite a lot of ERS to get that overtake done, and we're now just gonna follow him and see whether he can maybe close up to my teammate and Zach. And in the meanwhile I might be able to save quite a bit of ERS, but talking about saving ERS, that's not what Basti was planning on doing. He's trying to pull out of my DRS range. Going through the final corners of the lap, you can see the gap is literally 9.8 tenths. I do get DRS on this straight, and now I'm having to use a significant share of my ERS to get back within DRS range. And fortunately for me, I managed to do it, and I can keep in DRS range. So Basti's attempt to escape from the DRS range did not really work, as in the meanwhile we have another DNF for Rally Monster, and we have a 3rd full cost safety car for this race. And once again, decisions to make. Now of course the field is a lot closer, so at this stage I would drop more positions than I would under the previous safety car. And I think not that many people actually went into the pit lane for fresh tires. So realistically it's just a fair and share race on the same compounds of tires for the front 5. Well, not the same compound. Zach is of course doing a bit of an alternative strategy here by going on softs, but I mean an equal age of the tires. That's what I meant to say really. As we're going for the final restart of this race, you can see Basti now also on a 3 second. In the meanwhile I still only have 1 warning, so realistically I don't have to make this move on Basti now, but you should never trust the game when it comes to giving out time penalties, because he might get time penalties removed afterwards at the stewards. So I didn't want to sit behind for a very long time, but Basti got a very good exit here coming out of turn 3, and I couldn't match that. So let's see, going into lap 35 out of lap 36. This is my 2nd warning of the race, and everyone in front of me except my teammate, who's still leading this race, we don't have time penalties. So at this stage I should be able to get back into 2nd place of the race, as I have a bit of a oversteer moment coming out of turn 3, which meant I let quite big of a gap fall to Basti. So that also diminishes my chances to get past him for the final lap, where DRS will still be enabled, or rather get enabled again. Of course at this stage of the race tires are starting to lose quite a bit of performance now, and once again, with it being a 3-lap sprint race, we can all use our 100% battery, as oh no, I also extended on the exit of the penultimate corner. At the time I thought I had lifted off quite enough to maybe get that warning removed, but in hindsight I definitely didn't lift off that much. I had the slightest of taps on the brakes, but that clearly was not enough to get my 3 seconds removed. So a little bit gutted with this one, as this should have easily been a 2nd place, but I really messed it up in the final 2 laps. Of course, both me and Past to get on the podium, because Zach had 6 seconds in the end. And yeah, to be honest, I kind of gave away 3 points there at the end of the race. A massive congratulations to my teammate. She was just extremely fast. There was nothing anyone could do about it this race. And a well-deserved victory, essentially leading from lap 1 to finish. And yeah, I'm not too dissatisfied with the podium, because of course it's still consistent points. But as I said, these are 3 points I really should have had. Something I come quite disappointed about was, once again, the amount of safety cars. I was really looking forward to having a good and strategic fight with Pasty for second or third place in the race, but in the end it wasn't meant to be. Another safety car had been called out, which meant the wheel-to-wheel racing once again was not really present in this race. It's sort of something I'm getting a little bit frustrated about with both FRL and this league. But hey, what you're going to do about it when someone actually puts it into a wall? In real life, 90% of the time a safety car gets called out, so I guess it is realistic that it also happens in this race. So for the 3rd time in a row I got pole position and wasn't able to convert it, but once again I'm just getting consistent results, which is also worth quite a lot in terms of keeping the advantage in the championship standings. If you did enjoy the video, and if you fancy it, then I would appreciate it if you could hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you for the next round. Bye bye.